Our little horse needs a rocker, so let's build one. Coming up next. Hello and welcome back to the shop. My name is Brett and we are continuing work on our little doll-sized thoroughbred racehorse for the Keeneland Mercantile in Lexington, Kentucky. Now the last couple of weeks we've been working on and focusing on our carving, and we pretty much have all of the rough carving done. Pretty much most of the carving is done and a lot of the sanding is done. This is by no means finished, but I thought this is good enough for now to let's stop on that and let's focus and concentrate our time on building the little bow rockers. So the bow rockers are going to be in cherry. So I was kind of rooting around here in the shop looking for cherry. I really desperately need to run down to the kiln and I just haven't had a chance yet, but I need to pick up some cherry. And speaking of not having a chance, I'm not sure how long this episode is going to be. It may end up being a little bit short, and I apologize for that. We've had a lot of things going on here outside of the shop, as you can imagine. But one of the main things that happened here over the week is we're out here in the country, and the shop is located in the country here in Western Pennsylvania, and our drinking water is by well. And I put that well in, I think it's about 15 or 18 years ago, and my pressure tank decided to quit on me. So I was working kind of late here at the shop last night and reinstalling or installing a new pressure tank and doing all of that and trying to get the well back up and going. And I worked kind of late here at the shop. So really, I'm starting this video a bit late in the week, way later than what I normally do. So I apologize if this one comes up a little bit short. But I think there's still quite a bit of time left in the week that we can go ahead and get quite a bit of this built in the next few days. So where we are going to start, we're going to head over to the planer and we're going to get our material plane. So like I said, I found some cutoffs. This is a piece of 8/4 here that I think I can slice in half. We've got some little cutoffs and a piece of glue up. I think there's plenty here that we can work with. This is our little template for our rockers, and remember, I'm kind of taking that bow out of here and we're kind of laying these rockers down. So this is going to be kind of fun to see how these develop, and then of course we're going to fit our horse to it eventually, and we'll see how this all works out. But like I said, let's head over to the planer. We're going to start there, and we'll probably run this stuff down to, I'd say about 5/8 of an inch thick, maybe a 1/2 inch. And then we'll come back over here and we'll start laying out our little rockers, and then we'll get them all cut out. So I'll see you over at the planer. So before we head over to the planer, I had mentioned that we've got a piece of 8/4 here that, after thinking about it, let's go ahead and cut this into thirds. I think we can get 3 pieces out of this. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to use it all. This has some sap coming through here, so we won't know until we plane it and see what it looks like. But either way, we'll be able to use some of these pieces either in this rocker or a project down the road. I went ahead and ran this side through the planer, and we've already got a side here that's pretty true, so this ought to work. So we can go ahead, we'll set our fence to 3/4 of an inch. And let's run this through here and see what we got. Good, we got 2 out of that, so that'll work. I probably could have gotten 3 out of there, but then we'd be dealing with, you know, 5/8 of an inch thick or somewhere around there. I want enough material here that we can plane this down and get a nice, you know, looking board and for our rockers. So that's looking good. Let's head over to the planer. Let's get everything planed, and then we'll go over and put this together. Good, that ought to do it. Okay. Let's make some room here. We have our pattern all ready to go. All we need to do is just lay out everything. Then we'll head over to the bandsaw and get things cut out. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be able to avoid that little bit of sap coming through this wood. That ought to work out real well. Good. Like I said, I need to get down to the kiln and pick up some wood. I need to get at least some 4/4 cherry, some 5/4 cherry, and I also need some poplar in here. Well, we'll just get a little bit of everything when we go down. We have a couple of more horses we're going to be working on this month. And that is, we have an order for a medium on a safety stand. And we also have a medium on a bow rocker. And the bow rockers I believe are going to get painted. Good, that's all done. Now we'll head over to the bandsaw. We'll get these cut on a 10-degree angle. We'll come back over here and we'll start assembling. All right, let's set our bandsaw to 10 degrees. There we go, and we'll go ahead and get these cut. Now I think since I have a nice flat edge here, a square edge, I'm going to run this over to my miter saw. Let's go ahead and cut this angle, then we can come back and then we'll finish cutting this on the bandsaw. There's one, 3 more to go. Okay, there's all 4 sides of our little bow rockers. Now what I need to do is join these 2 halves together. Normally on a medium, a small or a medium horse, I use pocket hole screws, but I believe this is a little bit thin. So what I may do is we may just go ahead and just add a little bit of glue here, clamp them, set them aside to dry. Then we're gonna move on and we're gonna build our box, the center section. And that cleat in there, once this sets up enough that it'll at least hold it together, we can go ahead and we can put our center cleat on here, glue it on nice and tight, and that'll hold everything in place. So let's go ahead, let's get a little bit of glue on this and see if we can clamp this together, and we'll set them aside to dry. Just a little bit of glue here in the center. I think I'm going to use one of my pocket hole clamps. There we go. That ought to at least hold it for now until we get the cleats done and built on the inside. Like I said, we're going to go back, we're going to build the box part, the center part of our bow rockers now. And then once these are dry, then we can kind of dry fit everything and make sure everything lines up. We'll go through all of that again. But right now, I think that will work, and we'll move on. Let's build the box. With the sides to our bow rocker set aside, we're going to let those dry. We're going to move on. We're going to start building our box here. What I did is I found another piece of scrap, 5/4 cherry, and I just planed it real lightly on one side, ran it through my table saw, split it in half. That gave me, you know, 2 nice halves, and they're about a ½ inch thick. So these will work really well for the center part of our bow rockers. I call it the box. Now, for some of you that are brand new to this channel, you've heard me say this, or maybe, again, some of you that are new to this haven't heard me say it, but bow rockers, building bow rockers are extremely, at least for me in my opinion, they're extremely difficult to make. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I kind of come up with my own little technique and little tricks on how to build these and to get them right. And if you're interested in that, I do have a video. I'll post it up here in the corner that you can go and look at. And I'll also put a link at the end of this episode that you can click on and go back, and then you can watch how I build bow rockers. So it's pretty helpful, and I kind of take my time and work with you on how to do this and all of my tips and tricks and little techniques on how to build these. So it might be of interest to you out there. So we're just going to go ahead and move on. And I call this part the box. So I've gone ahead and I made a new template here because these are different bow rockers. We've taken that bow out of them just a little bit. So I had to make a new pattern for the center part. I call it the cleat, and that's going to go on either side on the inside of our bow rockers. Then we're going to build what I call stretchers on either side. That's the part in between that's going to separate the two and give us our distance. So I've gone ahead, I've made my pattern. I've got them all laid out here on this piece of cherry. Our bandsaw's already set at 10 degrees, so let's head over there. We're going to cut these, and we're going to cut them wide. We're not going to follow the line. I want to cut them wide. And again, if you're interested in why I do that, go back and watch the video of me building these, and I explain everything in detail. So let's head over to the bandsaw. All right. So what I want to do, and like I said, I don't want to follow the line on both of these when I cut these out. I want to stay wide as I can. It looks like I can go at least, I don't know, 1/4 inch maybe 3/8 of an inch, but we're gonna stay a little bit wide of our line. We'll cut this one right down the middle. And that is so when we go to glue these to the inside of our bow rockers, that we can adjust if we need to. And again, I'll go over all of that again. Even with these, I'll go over it a little bit with you, but I really recommend go back and watch the video that I put together about a year or so ago on how to do these, and it really kind of explains everything. There we go. Back over to the bench. So I just want to take a quick look and see what I have in my scrap bin over here. I want to make the 2 stretchers. Those are the 2 pieces that are going to go in between the bow rockers to separate. And they're roughly around 6 inches, 7 inches long, about a 1/2 inch thick. So I thought, I have some material over here on the bench, but let me just take another quick look and see if there's anything here that we can use. And I think this is going to be a bit thin. I mean, that's 1/2 inch, that's borderline. I like something a little bit thicker. If I have something, that's a 1/2 inch. Let's see what this is. This might work here. Yeah, this is actually 3/4 of an inch. So let's go ahead, let's plane this down. We can get 2 stretchers out of this easily, and then we can save some more material. Like maybe these 1/2 inch slats, I can use those for the slats on top of the bow rocker when we go to finish it out. So yeah, let's go ahead, we'll plane this down, we'll use this. Now we need 1 7/8 inches. We've got a 2 1/4 piece here. Let's cut that down to 1 7/8 inches. We'll go a little bit heavy because then we'll run over to the joiner and we'll clean up the edges on both of those. our end. We're going to go with a 10-degree angle again, just like on the typical Dahl bow rocker. Then I have a measurement from my short point to short point of 5 3/4. I don't know why I have a measurement from short point to short point, but that's what I did. That'll work. Okay, we've got our two little stretchers here. These are going to go on either side of the cleats, again, what I'm calling the cleats. So we're going to build a little box. We'll get that all put together, then we can come back, and once these are dry, we'll start fitting everything. And, well, you can just kind of follow along and watch as I do this. Okay, one of the first things we want to do on our cleats, we want to put a little bit of a back bevel. So we're just going to clamp it up here. We want to kind of pay attention to the orientation. I always put a mark on my inside, just an X, so I know that's my inside. And again, because these are on a 10-degree angle, that's how you determine what your inside and outside is going to be. That's just how I do it. So I know that's my inside. And our cleats are going to kind of run like this. Now, we've cut these wide again, so you can see how I'm going to orient this and line this all up. I still have my lines, my cut lines where I want to end up. So that's how I'm going to just, again, we're just dry fitting at this point. We're not permanently putting these on. So I know I want to put a back bevel, just maybe a degree, even a half a degree, because we want that stretcher to kind of sit back here a little bit. So I'll just go around and mark all four sides. Do the same with the other one. If we don't do that, then when you go to put this together, these are actually, because we're working with compound angles, the stretcher is actually going to be down just a little bit, and it's going to throw everything off. So we want to make sure we put that back bevel on there. Good. And we'll head over to my sander, my bench sander, and we'll just knock these off and come back here. I already have the table tilted just about a degree or so. Now I think the way I'm going to put this together is we're just going to, I think my brad nailer would be the best way to go right now. I pulled out some 1-inch nails, so we're just going to shoot temporarily. We're just dry fitting again. We just want to attach this so we can pull it back off. So I think 1-inch nails will do it. We can pull those out really easy once we get everything clamped and, you know, put together the way we want it. Good, that'll work. Remember, no glue, we're just dry fitting only. Good. There's our center box all finished up. They look good. Moving on. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get set up here. Let's take the clamps off. It's been about 3 or 4 hours now since I clamped these, so the glue should be pretty well set at this point. So next up, since we have our box made, I want to go ahead, we'll take the clamps off. I'm going to clean off my bench here a little bit and bring my sanding mat over. We're going to sand on the inside of our bow rockers so that we can go ahead and lay the center section or the box on the inside. We'll start figuring out how these rockers are going to look here, and within any luck here, keep your fingers crossed, we'll see if this all goes according to plan. I hope it does, so we're about to find out though. So let's go ahead, we'll get set up, we'll do a little sanding, and let's put this together. Now I'm just going to use 80 grit for this. because we're not really getting crazy. We're not doing any final sanding, so that should be fine. But we do want to be careful. There's really nothing else holding this in place other than that little bit of glue. So hopefully we won't break this and have to re-glue it. So we'll give it a shot here. Good. That'll work. So we want to go ahead, we're going to sand the box on the outside here. Since we went ahead and we put a back bevel on our cleats here, that means that this part here on our stretcher is going to be a bit high. So it's going to kind of come in flat and then go up a little bit. And again, we're dealing with compound angles. So simply, I've got 80 grit in the paper or on my sander again. I'm just going to go ahead, sand this all nice and flush. And then we can go ahead and clamp everything to the center and get everything lined up and take a look and see how it looks. Good. We'll go ahead, we can mark the inside just for reference, the inside of our bows. And then all we're going to do, since I have my center line established, is we're just going to line up our center line to the joint here between our bow rockers. We'll put a couple of spring clamps on it, and then we'll flip it upside down and we'll take a look and see how everything looks. Now, one of the other things that I already did too, off camera, is I went ahead and I kind of book matched these, and that's really important because if your center line, if you're off just a little bit, a degree here or there, then one side of these bows could be kicked up and that could throw everything off. So what we're looking for is when you put both of them together, that they're relatively close. We have a lot of sanding to do, but these ones look really, really good. So that's why I'm just moving on. So we'll mark our center line here. We'll put a couple of spring clamps on. And then being that our cleats are wide on the top and bottom, what I'm doing is I'm using the stretchers because those are cut at 1 7/8 inches, which is pretty close to what the width of our little bows are here. So I'm just lining that up, making sure that these are fairly close and they look good. Center lines all match up, top and bottom, and that's about where that should sit. So let's do the other side. Just lining up my stretchers. And we'll take a look. This rocker could go this way just a little bit, so we'll make that adjustment. Now what I like to do is flip this up, and it's actually upside down. And the reason I do that is now I can kind of take a look, walk around it, make sure everything is nice and level, that both sides look pretty good. We know, because we book matched them at the beginning, that our rockers are they're cut pretty close and they're glued up pretty close. And our cleats, when we clamped everything and we've lined everything up, that went together really close and pretty good. So we kind of have an idea, at least I have a good idea, that these are going to be nice and level. And they are. When you look down the stretchers, everything lines up. So yeah, these are going together perfect. So now we'll go ahead, we'll grab a couple of wood clamps. We can do one side at a time. We'll put a little bit of glue down and we'll clamp them nice and tight. We'll come in tomorrow, once the glue sets, we can take the clamps off, we can take the stretchers off. We'll just tap those out and we'll pull those nails, and then we can run everything through the bandsaw again, and then we'll give everything a final sand. But these are going together beautifully. Nice. Good. Now I'm just going to draw in a little bit of a reference line on the outside of my stretcher. That's so I know where to glue. And when I glue this up, I want to make sure that we keep glue, even when we clamp it nice and tight, that we keep enough glue away from our edge that we don't accidentally glue the stretcher to the inside of our bow rockers. Because then it makes it a lot more difficult to pull these apart. So I always like to glue a little bit on the inside here in the middle, work my way out a little bit, and try to compensate for a little bit of the pressure, the glue ooze, so we can keep it away from those stretchers. And once this glue is nice and dry, it's going to keep that center section, these two bow halves, going to keep it just rock solid, and that'll never come apart. So it's going to look something like that. This is all dry over here. I've just put a thin layer going out to the edge, so that should be fine. We have our reference marks here, so we can go ahead and put this right back where it was. Put our spring clamps in just for now. And we can do the other side. There we go. That's all ready to go. We'll set this aside to dry. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll take it apart and we'll see how it looks. We'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. It's a new day here in the shop, and we are going to go ahead and take our clamps off our little bow rocker, and then we can go ahead and take our stretchers out. We'll just tap those with a hammer, remove the stretchers, and then at this point we can take it over to our bandsaw, and then we can go ahead and get our cleats, the center section here that we cut wide. We can go ahead and we can get those trimmed down to fit so that everything matches the bow rockers. So that's really what is left to do. So let me go ahead, we'll get the stretchers knocked off of here and we'll head over to the bandsaw. I always like to mark which stretcher goes where so that it goes right back in the same location. There we go. Let me pull those nails. And there we go. Let's head over to the bandsaw. All right. Set the height. We've already got our table set at a 10-degree angle. So all we have to do is just kind of follow through again. And we'll just trim these cleats to match the arch of our bow rockers. There, that's all trimmed. There's nothing to it. And again, I just really think that this is one of the easier ways, at least for me, to building bow rockers, doing it the way I do it in this kind of method. And again, if you're interested in how I do this, there is a video that I did do a while ago. I'll link it at the end of this video, and you can always go through my channel and you can find it. And it explains a lot more in detail on how to make these. But I just really think that this is one of the easier ways to build these, and you get them right pretty much every time if you just take your time at this. Well, unfortunately, because I got a late start this week, this is Sunday, and this is normally the day that I like to edit and get my videos ready and get them all uploaded for you all to come out on Monday. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me in editing, and so I think this is where I'm going to stop this video. Again, I apologize. Really, what I'm going to work on, though, is coming back when we get back in here. I'm just going to go ahead and get everything sanded, and there's not much to it, you know, and I don't think you all need to sit and watch me sand these. So I'll go ahead and I'll get these all prepped and get them sanded, and then we get back here next week. It won't take us any, you know, time at all to go ahead and get these little bow rockers fitted, and then at that point we can bring our little horse over and we can set them on and make sure that everything's going to sit right. Again, you know, fingers crossed that this all works okay, and if it does, then we can go ahead and continue on. We can notch the hooves, get everything fitted, and then we'll go back to working on our little horse and get that, you know, what little carving needs to be done, we can go ahead and get that done and get it prepped and get it ready to go into the paint booth. So we're really knocking this little guy out here real quick. Well, once again, I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me here at the shop. Again, if you got something out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out in building this channel. Also, don't forget to check me out. I have Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, all kinds of things. You can Google me. My website is greenfieldwoodworks.com. And as always, happy carving, and we'll see you here at the shop again next week. Take care.